Hi, welcome back to Matrimony Thoughts with Jack and Glen. I'm Jackie.
I'm her husband, Glen.
He's my husband, Glen.
Today we're going to be talking about marriages and allowances. And you can already see, if you're watching this on YouTube, you already can see her face. That is not something that she likes to talk about or want to talk about. But we got this idea again from Married at First Sight, where you saw Jose and Rachel talking about their finances. And Rachel felt like that, hey, why should I be given an allowance? I make money, I earn money, I work. And why should he tell me or dictate to me how much and what should I spend? Mm-hmm. And I believe, this is my theory on this, and my belief on allowances. I believe families and marriages should have budgets, and I believe that in that budget or that line item should be an allowance. Well, whatever you want to call it, because the word allowance itself has a negative connotation.
Oh no, don't take what I have to say.
Oh, don't take what you have to say.
Because that was my whole thing.
That's your whole thing, is that the word allowance has a negative connotation.
Yes, because she had an issue with. Okay, so background. Jose is debt free. He's paid off 2 houses, at least. He's paid off his bills. He's got a board in his kitchen with, his budget. And Rachel is not so good with finances.
Right.
She likes to take her trips, and however she pays for it, she likes to take her trips. But
credit cards.
She's not good with money. So with the two of them coming together, they were talking about money and bank accounts. And he was like, well, I would like to see us have joint bank account. And, we pay the bills out of it. And I do what I need to with this. And then you can have the rest. Mm-hmm. You can have the rest. And so she was like, wait, I feel like that means you're giving me an allowance like I'm a kid. Because that's what we're used to. Kids get allowances.
Yeah, but that's not what he was saying, though.
That's what it sounded like to her.
But she took it the wrong way. But look, allowances, budget items, whatever you want to call it, that is good for marriages. I think husband and wives have when you bring all your money together, if you have one big account and you bring all your stuff together and you do all your bills, you lay everything out, there should be an item on there to say this. Let's not use the word allowance because there's a negative connotation to that word. Mm-hmm. But here's your stipend for the month. What is wrong with that? What is wrong with saying to somebody, this is your stipend? All the bills are paid. The electricity is gonna be paid. Your student loans gonna be paid. The car payments are paid. The kids' daycare is taken care of. Your tithe in church is taken care of. But here is what we have left if we stay on this budget, and this is a stipend that you can spend whatever for the month.
So it was a twofold thing that we talked about, okay? Because sometimes in marriages, you may see where the spouse gets an allowance. Say it's the husband that works and the wife doesn't. Mm-hmm. And so because she doesn't, he gives her a certain amount of money that she can spend on herself. And that can be seen as a way of a form of manipulation or being controlling. Since you don't work, I make the money. So let me give you this little bit of money that you can spend however you want to spend it. That's the first thing. The second thing is that the issue of why somebody might feel a type of way is, what if it's the woman that makes more money than the man, and it's the man saying, here's your allowance? Then sis is feeling like, you giving me allowance? Like, I bring most of the money in. Who are you to tell me, oh, here, like I should be telling you, this is your allowance. You know what I'm saying? And the other issue I think that Rachel had, and maybe some people have, with an allowance, a spousal allowance, is, okay, so is the spousal allowance, the allotment, the stipend, is that only being put on one spouse, or is it even? Because that's what happens sometimes too. It's like, okay, so this is your money that you can use, and as for me, I have a free for all. There, I don't have no limitation.
No, it should be across the board. So when you and your spouse, husband or wife, sit down and you have a conversation about money, when you're having that conversation about money, you're talking about everything. So when we're talking about electric bill is $250 and mortgage is $1,300 and car payment is $500 and so when we get down to what's left, if we decide as a husband and wife team, whether regardless of who makes the most money, because in marriages you're going to have one person who makes more than the other. Does not mean that person has control over that person. It means that we are the two. If you go biblically, the two are one. So now we're together with one. So we're gonna make a decision as one to what we're gonna do with the finances. Hopefully. But the problem is in marriages and relationships, people don't have conversations. They don't sit down and discuss finances of what they bring in. I mean, it's amazing how spouses don't even know how much the other spouse makes.
Then that's just ridiculous.
You don't even know how much the other spouse makes. You never seen their paycheck. You don't know. You just know the bills. That's to me, that's crazy, right? Or you don't have access to your spouse's bank account if they have another bank account. That's crazy to me, because what if something happens? You need to get the money. We know, like I said, we know a couple who he had a terrible fall on the job, and she couldn't pay any of the bills because she couldn't get into the bank account. On Facebook, asking people, "Can you give me money?" Explaining the situation. That's crazy to me. Right? So what I'm saying...
Not give me money, but give me some ideas. Like, how can I go about...
No, she legitimately asking for money and we'll pay you back when I get into the bank account.
Oh, wow.
Illegitimately, can I get some money? Because I don't have access to any of this until we figure it out, because he didn't put her name on anything. So, to me, that's ridiculous, because we're one. That means our money should come together. Now, what we should do, and we should have conversation about how to balance, how to manage what goes out, and we should know what's coming in. Otherwise, it's like a corporation. You're building your brand. You're building your corporation. You're building your home, and you're doing it financially because, again, you're working together. Not that if you make more money than me, and you know what, just because I make more money, I can do whatever I want. No, it's not that way. And everything should be discussed, and everything should be even. Whatever the allotment is. Whatever we want to call stipend, because I know the word allowance makes people upset. It makes you feel like you're a kid and your mom and daddy. So we're not gonna call. It's amazing you call it a stipend, but really your job you have a job where you travel. They give you an allowance. They tell you that you only can spend $25 on meals, or you can spend X amount of dollars on your trip. You ain't tripping because your job calls an allowance. Why are you tripping when your husband or your spouse calls an allowance?
It's because it's a closer relationship with you and your spouse.
Yeah, but to me, tomato, same thing. I mean, again, tomato is what you call it. But again, husbands and wives, in this scenario, even in Rachel and Jose's scenario, in marriage in general, the problem that one spouse feel like they can take over, you can't take over because you make more money. Because again, I've never seen whatever electric company you have cut the electric off on one side of the house. Mm-hmm. I never see the cable company that you have or the provider that you have cut the other spouse's channels off they like to watch because they didn't pay. Everybody's going to suffer. So why not manage correctly?
Right.
And have those DVR. If it's $200 that we can spend this much, that's fine. If it's $300 you can spend this much, fine. If you make the most money and you don't spend that much, because in some scenarios the person who makes the most money is not the spender. Mm-hmm. So if you don't spend that much, then guess what you do? You allow that person to spend, but you give them a limit.
So, like I said, it's the allow. Like, you're allowing me. Like, I'm grown. You don't allow me nothing.
But again,
that's what people have a problem with. You don't allow me, because then this is the other thing that can happen when people have an allowance. Okay, so as the wife, I have an allowance. I'm not going to say allowance. And a allotted amount of money to spend any way I want to is $500. Mm-hmm. And as the husband, his allotted amount is also $500. Or maybe it's not. It may be more, maybe less, depending on which spouse is the spender, depending on what they want to buy in that particular month or whatever. Okay, but say I take my $500 and I buy a purse. The issue comes is when I come home with that purse for $500, and not literally but the wife comes home with that purse for $500, and the husband like, you spent your whole $500 on that purse?
Or vice versa. A husband comes home and he brought some J's, or he brought the new Xbox, or he brought you spend your, again, if it's your allotment do what you with your allotment.
But that's the problem.
The issue comes in is if you get your allotment on the first and your allotment is gone on the first, right? Then you looking at the person that has money, or in this case, their allotment, can I borrow some of yours until the first again, or give me some of yours until the first again. But no, if you're, and I know we're being comical, but it's saying if your allotment is $500, right, and therefore you're spending, again, the rules of engagement. What do we set the rules up as your marriage? Because every marriage is different. So what are the rules set up in this marriage? Here's the allotment. If you spend yours by the end of this, to have y'all set the rules up that don't dig into anything else. You just you kind of SOL. You're short. All right. Or if you spend all yours, and then you can tap into this, or you get money out of this account here. So I think what happens is the communication has to be involved, and you have to be able to set the rules of the engagement to understand what the rules are and handling our finances. And I think they will cut down on so many arguments. I mean, we can be transparent, and when we start being more meticulous about our finances years ago, we've gotten better. The arguments have gone down. The time that we sit and do our budget has gotten much more easier. Their voices don't raise as much because the budget is set. We know what the budget is, and we're having communication about the budget.
But that's the whole budget, and I think that's the thing, because like you said, when you set the budget, not just whatever each person is allotted.
Yeah.
But also, okay, so then this is the grocery, but then it has to be static across the board. So if the grocery budget is this, you stay in the grocery budget.
You stay with the grocery budget.
Ain't no coming out of the grocery budget.
No.
Unless your compromise is, well, I need more grocery money, so let's lessen the restaurant money.
Right.
So, as a spouse with my allotment, if I use all my allotment, why can't we lessen yours? Why can't we lessen yours so I can get more? Because you don't spend that much anyway.
So if I want to lessen my...
That might be... No, I'm not literally you. I'm just saying. That might be an argument too. You know what I'm saying? Because like, no, you had the $500. You stick with your $500. But you know you're not going to use $500, husband over here. So let me get them extra $3. And that goes back to again, what you spending your allotment on?
If the husband if y'all have that conversation and he said, you know what, wife, I am going to give you this. Cool. Long as it's written in a budget. Whatever he wants to do with his $5. He wants to go make it rain at the club on Friday nights. If that's what you know what I'm saying? If that's what it is, and you allow that, that's his $500 and he spends that. But again, if you have the allotment out and you budget it out, there's nothing wrong with that. If you have a certain amount for your food, you have a certain amount for your, we saw, I think on last Married at First Sight, we seen with Jose and Brianna and Vincent, they wrote everything down. Mm-hmm. And so when you write everything down, you get to see what you have. So you may have more money than month, you know what I'm saying? So you may have a whole bunch of money, so therefore you may be able to, the allowance may increase. I think the issue comes in, again, people feel, it becomes that feeling situation.
Yeah, I feel restricted.
People feel restricted. They feel like they can't do, but you can do. But you're gonna stay within the parameters. If you get your paycheck, I said this on our review for Married at First Sight, you only can spend what your paycheck allows, right? And so if your paycheck is only $2,000 every 2 weeks, guess what? You only can spend in a month. You only can spend $4,000. Unless you take out credit cards and loans and all that. But then at the end of the day, it's gonna bite you in the butt. And I think what happens is so many people, and even with Rachel, she has spent outside of her means that she doesn't know how to handle it when somebody puts kind of restrictions on her. And my thing is, in marriages, and in relationships, because I don't think this should happen in relationships. I'm going to say marriage, all right? Because in a relationship, your boyfriend or your girlfriend shouldn't be stipulating how much you should spend.
Right. Because
they really have no tie to you.
Right.
So you're your boyfriend and your girlfriend. That's a whole different podcast itself. We're talking about in marriage, because in marriage, husband and wives are coming together to make a common decision and a goal. I'm not just talking about a decision on money, but got to be a decision on how we raise our kids. So when there has to be communication involved in marriage. Because again, we come from different walks of life. You know, somebody may come from where they were dirt poor and money means a lot to them, and they don't want to see it blown out the window. So they're more conservative. They're more cautious with the way they spend money and how they handle money. Somebody could come from a family where it was always free flowing money. That money was always flowing in their homes. It's like, oh, you need this, here we go. Boom, you need that, here we go. And they don't understand the value of it or the importance of it to get it. So I think even before you get married, those conversations need to be had. I think in pre-counseling, in marriage counseling, those conversations need to be had about how we're going to handle money, how we're going to spend money, how we're going to handle money, how we're going to spend money, what our priorities come with money. Is it to buy a home? Is it to retire early? Is it to save up a kid's college funds? How are we going to manage this money in this relationship? And again, what is my allowance?
but that's all I'm about to say. When you talk about people coming from different backgrounds, that's why they could come to it and feel like, but no, I don't like the word allowance. I don't like you because I don't like you putting a restriction on me because, oh, my dad did that with my mom, or you know what I'm saying. So it is a negative connotation, and there's feelings attached to it. It's like, no, I watched my mom not be able to, like, she couldn't get nothing for herself. She always had to run it past my dad, and he wouldn't let her get this and wouldn't let her get that, you know. So that's why for some people, again, I wouldn't use the word allowance, because allowance do make you feel like a kid, and it's like, this is what you allowed to spend. It's like I'm giving you permission,
right?
A grown person, and people don't like that.
But it may not be the man dictating to the woman, but it may be the woman dictating to the man what he can spend.
It could be.
But again, if you're doing this thing together, we're having a conversation together. We're working on our financial future together. We're working on our financial plan together. We're moving forward with our money together. Again, key word is together. So it's not really somebody dictating what you can and you can have. What dictates what you can and cannot have is the money that you put in the pot. In actuality, the bills that you have and the money you bring in really dictate what you can do with that. So it's not the person, if we really look at it, it's what we bring in. So if I bring in 15 grand a month and we got 15 grand a month and it's 10 grand in expenses, right? So that means we have 5 grand to kind of play with because all our expenses are already taken care of. Now, whether we're going to take that other 5 grand after all the expenses are taken care of and put that in a bank, we're going to take the 5 grand and split it 50-50. Each one of us gets 2,500. Or we're going to take the 5 grand, 30% go here, 15% here, go here. And so whatever we're going to do, split what after everything is taken care of, electricity, bills, tithe, and all that. And this is what you have left over. Then we move on. We're going to take this 5 grand and put on debt. You know, so it becomes that, oh shoot, you're going to take your stimulus check. And what are you going to do with that? Mm-hmm. Have conversations about what takes place, set the ground rules, and move on. I think when you have issues in relation about money, there's no ground rules set. No one knows where, how they haven't had a budget. They haven't had a plan. They didn't talk about who, I'm going to handle the finances or she's going to handle the finances. No, we're going to handle the finances together. How many times you watch movies and stuff and the husband had no idea what was going on because the wife was taking care of all the finances and she did everything else? You know, it's ridiculous how in marriages you don't know. But I think what needs to take place in relationships is that they need to work together. And that's even if you decide to have 2 different bank accounts. We need to work together to see what goes where. Mm-hmm. You know, in order for the children, for food, for gas, I mean, anything for the pandemic, whatever case may be, I think those are the keys. And we can't get caught up. People cannot get caught up on the word allowance. Change it to stipend. Mm. And I guess what? If we say, you know, every married couple should get a stipend, call it a day. every spouse should get a stipend in a relationship.
Might work. Might not.
It might work. No. It may not work. But again, get caught up on the word allowance. Because you really caught up on that word allowance.
No, because I was telling you that was her issue. It was like, allowance. Like, it does make you feel like a kid. Like, I wouldn't even say I had an allowance. Lunch cost a whole lot less back there. So we got $2 a day for lunch for school.
So what happened? What happened when you didn't spend your $2 a day? So you only spent like $1.15. You kept the other 85 cents, right?
Oh yeah.
So did you save?
And in the meantime, somebody else that lived in my house, there was a sibling of mine. I'm not gonna say which sibling. never had their lunch. They didn't have any lunch money left. They always spent all their lunch money.
Well, we got one right now who takes, I mean, we have one who his lunch account is taken care of, is a problem.
Always.
Right?
Always.
Eating up his lunch account. So,
always.
So again, it goes into, but a lot of that comes from your childhood, a lot of it comes from the backgrounds. That's why it's important, again, for those who, when you're handling money in relationships, when you're handling money in marriage, to have conversations, get somebody, a financial planner involved, get somebody, a professional involved. If you and your husband can't get on, or you and your wife, or you and your husband can't get on the same page for money, you may need a mediator. You may need to get somebody else to come in and look at your stuff and say, okay, what are your goals? What are your plans? Where you want to go? And how are we going to get there?
And like the conversation we had said, always remember the feelings that can be attached to words that you use.
Yes.
You know, because it does make a difference. That's gonna make the difference whether you're gonna have a nice budget meeting or not. What you say? I can what?
and again, terminology. Always use we. Never use I. You. Use your pronouns. We. We're French here. We. Because again, you're our team. You're a husband and wives, and y'all should work together in managing your finances. Correct?
Yes, sir.
Oh yes! Don't say yes, sir, to me like I'm the tyrant. I'm not the tyrant.
No, I just say yes, sir. Oh, yes, indeed.
Yes, indeed. Okay, I'm not.
Yes, sir.
Yes,
let me say it like that. Yes, sir.
Yes, sir. No, I'm not the tyrant, but we do work. We work well together in budgeting and in finances.
Oh, he's a tyrant. Don't be fooled. No, I'm just kidding.
No,
he is a tightwad.
Oh, I'm thrifty. By all means.
No, you're cheap. He's a tightwad.
I'm not cheap. I'm thrifty.
He's cheap.
Again, you said terminology. You said words. You said words. You said words. I am thrifty. I am very selective in what I buy.
No, it's a difference. No, cause I'm thrifty. Yep. You know, my children will say that. You know, I'll be like, you know, they gonna pick up something. I'm like, is that on sale? We look right now. We're shopping sale items. That's what we're doing today. No. Cheap is when you're buying stuff that you absolutely need and it's at a reduced price, like it's not even regular price, and you shaking and spazzing for a cart full of clothes that normally would have been like $250, and like you spent $100. Whew. Oh, this is a lot of money.
Yeah,
that is cheap. That is cheap.
You know.
That's cheap in the time.
Those days are gone. I don't sweat like that. I don't sweat like that anymore. I done found my balance. I done found my balance. No, it's not. It's cheap. Not, you know, I like to be selective. I find value in certain things, so it depends on what it is. It's value. It's not cheap. It's value. Again, I stay within the budget. I stay within the budget. I keep the guidelines, but not again. It's just husband and wife. Just set a budget. Do what you like to do, but you can do what you want to do too if you have a big shovel, and that's your money. You know what you bring in. Again, allowances are not bad for marriages.
Stipends and allotments. Allowances might be a problem. Stipends and allotments
are not bad for
line items in the budget.
Line items and make it a line item in the budget. And guess what? It may change every month.
It may.
But you gotta plan it out though. If I know summer months are coming up and I need a little bit extra, whatever, you make that allotment in the, you know, in the budget. And if you're getting your stipend and your allotment and you don't spend it, stack them papers, dog. Stack that up. Stack it up. So
don't be coming to borrow from me.
I don't come borrow. I do not borrow.
I'm not really saying you.
Oh.
None of this is directed to you.
Oh, okay. The Lord told me
we're saying you.
The Lord said I should be a lender.
Him.
And not a borrower. Not
her.
And her, but
them.
Make sure you communicate about finances. Allowances, stipends, allotments are not bad for marriages if you're on the same page. If you're on the same page.
Sure.
Sure. So make sure you get on the same page. Hey, make sure you have any comments about this this episode of this podcast. Hit the subscribe button. Hit the bell notification. If you're listening to us on iTunes, Google Play, make sure you leave a 5-star review. Again, we just want to bring some married topics to you. What comes in our mind? That's why it's called Matrimony Thoughts, because we are married and we have thoughts about a lot of things that other married couples think about. And our thoughts, my thoughts here, are to the left sometimes, very much to the left. But she reels me in. Hey, but make sure you check us out for future episodes of Matrimony Thoughts, as well as our reviews of Married at First Sight, Ready to Love, anything else you find on our YouTube channel and on iTunes and Google Play. Closing words.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Bye.
Bye.